You're tired? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Okay, page 9. I can never do the tune very well, but maybe someone who knows it can just kind of move us in that direction. Do you know what I do? Okay. Vandana Shri Guru Sri Utah Kamalam Sri Guru-Vaishnava Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhana Raghunatham Vitam Tham Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhantam Om Jnana-Timirandasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurvadhyasta Sugurakam Yuganaya Shri Sambhushitam Chintya Sanastavedunam Shri Rupa Bhantanam Govinda Vidam Chalam Varathanam Bhaktan Vitam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurun Jivya Bhagavat Premnam Vijapradam Devam Divyatinam Shikhandra Vadanam Bhavarka Charanchitam Sandranam Lapuram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyan Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Rasitam Saraswatam Varanam Vande Cham Shubaram Mareka Sharanam Yashishwaram Sridharam Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Pito Gaudiya Virvandaye Bhata Bhananga Prabhata Bhagane Yoga Sankirtanaye Maya Bhagavati Gilo Jaragatam Drutta Jivanima Krishna Prema Sudabdi Bhagana Sukham Pradat Prabham Kam Vaje Namo Gauri Vishwaraya Bhaktavadutam Muktaye Gaurangi Padma Bringaya Radha Bhavanishene Vande Bhakti Vinodam Sri Gaura Shashti Swagurvakam Bhakti Shastrasya Samrajam Radhavasa Sudhanidhim Gaura Brajasrita Shashaya Vaishnavaya Vandya Vigraham Jugannatha Prabhum Vande Premadhyam Virga Vaishnavam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Vasindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Anchatattvakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarvabhakam Bhaktavataram Satyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauda Tushe Jayatam Surato Bhangor Mama Manda Matirupati Matsarvasva Parammojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindarana Kalpadrunadha Srimad Ratnagar Singhasanasto Sri Gandharva Sri Govinda Devo Prashtaviti Setyamano Smarani Sriman Rasavasarabhi Vamshivatata Karshasheni Sunayati Gopinata Shri Krishna Vindayaya Tulasivaya Vyaya Kesavasya Krishna Bhakti Pradedi Satyavakya Namo Namah Atanatva Mantra Gurun Bhagavata Vyasam Jagat Gurun Mantra Tato Jayan Udiraye Jaya Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundara Pada Padmanam Jaya Stu Jaya Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gaurachandra Giriraj Ju Pada Padmanam Jaya Stu Sakala Vaishnava Pade Moda Namaskara Ite Kichu Aparadana Hukayama Ardara Hoy Chinmaya Prabhu Jatu Bhakta Jana Vandana Kori Ami Sabhara Charya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhujale Swami Shri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupadaya Te Namaha Vagyam Shri Ditva Shaktavesha Sarupine Hare Krishna Ki Mantrene Paschatya Prachatarne Visvacharya Pravarya Divya Karunya Murtaye Sri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayine Gaura Sri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishedine Radha Krishna Padam Bojo Vringaya Vringaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Vandana Ki Jai. We'll just chant one prayer. You want to pick one minute for Gurudev? Any Gurudev thing? Shri Guru Charitamrita on 80. Okay, cool. Okay. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalavakati Sadma The lotus feet of the spiritual master are the abode of pure devotional service. I bow down to those lotus feet with great care and attention. My dear brother, my dear mind, it is through the grace of the spiritual master that we cross over this material world. I'm thinking Narottam Das Thakur wrote this. So he says, my dear brother, my mind. But for ladies, it must be dear sister. Is that right? Okay. Next.
Make the teachings from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master one with your heart, and do not desire anything else. Attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is the best means of spiritual advancement. By his mercy, all desires for spiritual perfection are fulfilled.
He who has given me the gift of transcendental vision is my Lord, birth after birth. By his mercy, divine knowledge is revealed within the heart, bestowing loving devotion and destroying ignorance. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character.
O spiritual master, ocean of mercy, and friend of the fallen souls, you are the teacher of everyone and the life of all people. O master, be merciful unto me, and give me the shade of your lotus feet. May your glories now be proclaimed throughout the three worlds.
I have surrendered unto your fearless lotus feet. Please give your mercy, O Sri Gurudev, Savior of the fallen. Please give me your mercy. You are the Savior of the lowly fallen souls. All glories to you, Sri Gurudev. Jai Sri Guru-Vaishnava Mahatmya Giti ki Jai. Sri Narottam Das Thakur ki Jai. In the like the second series of couplet, the double couplet thing there, Asha. Asha is really important. That when we have Asha, it means we have hope. We have some feeling that comes like naturally from like beginning to make a little progress in spiritual understanding. That when we begin to understand that, the nature of my real self is that I am a soul within, that I'm not limited by the limitations of the temporary body, the temporary mind, the temporary intellect, and all that stuff. That there's a me within that is, free from all the bondage of the temporary world and all the mess and entanglement that we've all gotten ourselves in based on our, varying different kinds of activities in previous lives and also in this life. We have gotten ourselves caught up in the material world, and based on the particular degree to which and the nature of that getting caught up, we all have taken these particular material bodies. So, some may have a tall body, short body, strong body, weak body, beautiful body, not so beautiful body, this and that. It's all doesn't have to do with the real self. And to begin to be able to see into the, like the depth of the beauty of the real self that's within each one of us. That's real life. That's real freedom. Otherwise, by the nature of the material world, we're going to make, calculations and judgments relatively. He's more beautiful, she's more beautiful, she's less beautiful, he's less beautiful. It's like the nature of the material world. Everybody is, slotted into a particular position, by their own karma, by their own past situations. So we're like bound by that. As if you think about it, here I am sitting within this material body, within this material mind, and if I think that the body is me, that the mind is me, then I'm pretty stuck. I'm in pretty bad condition in this world, and ultimately, I'm going to just thinking myself as the body, thinking myself as the mind. I'm going to sit back and watch like both deteriorate The body deteriorates, the mind deteriorates. That's like the worst thing. I've seen it with, even some of my relatives, that the mind just kind of goes. And, in the end, some people, based on their karma and stuff, just get lost. I saw that with my father. It was very sad and very unfortunate. And that was like one of the things that gave me impetus to look for spiritual life. Because I saw it in my father. He was, materially successful. We had a nice house, nice car. I went to a good high school. I got into a good college, and everything was like up and up materially. But I could see that there was a big gap in life. He would like go to his work, do a good job, come home to his nice house, and then what would he do? We had dinner and stuff, and then afterwards he'd go down to the basement to his tool area and drink beer and get drunk. That was it. I thought, there's got to be something more than that. Come on. So I was seeking nature from the beginning. So seeking. Here I go talking about myself. But it's more relatable, right? Something like that? Yeah, okay. So where was I? I was in the basement with my father drinking.
Seeking something more.
In nature, enjoying the nature or something.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, I understood that there must be something more somewhere. So, of course, I got got caught up in the hippie thing, and of course, the first thing I thought was, "Woo, psychedelics! That's gonna show me what reality is." And so, at first, it was kind of like, "Whoa, yeah." There's so many. You can see there's so many different levels of perception that that we can't see that are there. And then naturally, the conclusion of that, after going through all that and seeking in that direction, you realize that there's something more than that, but you can't really access it with like a material substance. It's not possible. You can get some realization in terms of how the material world works and the different levels of consciousness and stuff like that. But to understand what's beyond that, you just can't. You can't know that. You can't enter into that. Therefore, you need to seek after something higher and something better. I remember I had decided one time that if I just take enough LSD, I'll just merge into the total energy. I was sure of that, So I just, I was selling LSD, so I had a bunch of LSD. So I took, I don't remember how many, a lot. And, I decided, okay, I could probably fly up to the spiritual world. So I went out, luckily I went outside, didn't go up to my roof, I went out, because some did go up to the roof, I think. And I went outside, and I was like, running back and forth, jumping up and down. People were looking at me and thinking, what's with this guy? And finally I thought, wow, it isn't working. What is going on here? And anyway, finally I took so much that I wound up in a hospital. And in the hospital, they let me out for a while to go walking in the outside world. So I went walking, and I stopped at this bookstore that was nearby the hospital, and so I was in the bookstore, looking around, trying to figure out if I could find something, and this Indian man, so surprisingly enough, comes up to me and hands me this book and says, "Here, you may need this." The book is The Path of the Masters. And I'm like, ooh. So I bought the book, I read about it and stuff like that, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go to India and find a master. I decided that. And then, so anyway, I was recovering and stuff, and I had to go to, my uncle set me up with a job, and the job was, I already told you guys mostly this, but anyway, it's funny. The job was, I was a technician in a cadaver lab. So I would wheel the bodies in for the students, and then they'd take them apart, and I would put the parts into formaldehyde afterwards. So I've started to read Krishna conscious stuff, like you're not the body. And I was thinking, oh, that's probably true. Because, hearts, lungs, liver, stuff, is that me? No. Just hand me? No. So anyway, it was very, I think Krishna arranged it. I was just set up in that circumstance where I could just very clearly see, what the limitations of the material world and the limitations of, material perception. So, anyway, I was walking back from, I had to go to the hospital to see someone regularly. So anyway, I was walking back from the hospital one day, and one day this really, happy, beautiful young girl comes bouncing up to me and says, Hare Krishna. And I was like, whoa. And, so I talked to her for a while, and she was really nice, and invited me to the temple, and, I went to the temple and, met all these nice people, and people who were, seemed to be, very similar to me, had gone through similar things. And it just, the place just felt like home. And anyway, that was 1969. And here I am, 55 years later. I'm still singing the same songs. There must be something more than regular songs. I mean, I still listen to occasionally Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, but I don't sing the songs all the time. But this I do. So there's something something deeper there that is accessible, through the writings of great souls who really realize and feel and know what is the truth. And so when they set things down, trying to convey to us what the truth is, there's potency there that's beyond just the combination of words and stuff like that. I was saying that last time. So we can access that that higher experience through coming in contact with the experience of these great realized souls. So that's the whole setup of the line of spiritual teachings. It's in India. That's what Guru is. Guru is just a representative of the line of spiritual teachings that is right here, right now on the earth, and can, through him, you can receive, transcendental experience and transcendental knowledge that, is exactly appropriate to your particular, position and consciousness and necessity in life. It just works like that. Krishna works through his agents in this world to inspire the living beings. That's just Krishna works directly, but somehow or other it's Krishna's arrangement also that we can come in contact with his representative who's representing the line of his teachers that can be there directly with us, living with us, exchanging with us, giving us some notion of what the feeling of what Krishna consciousness is. And myself doing this for a long time, naturally I've felt things happening in that way and have seen things happening in that way that, really most often are there's no calculation going on. Things just happen by Krishna's will. People grow in Krishna consciousness. And when we say things about Krishna consciousness, we have a certain perception, a limited perception, no doubt, but something about our experience of Krishna consciousness. And like I said, it hits everybody in different ways. And it's amazing how it works like that. Because Krishna ultimately is God, and he knows each one of us. He knows what we need. And so when we listen to, even, walking down the street, looking around, trying to understand what the world is about, Krishna will help you. You'll see things in a different way. The trees will become different. The tree is a living being. And how did that tree wind up there? My gosh, it's so, the implications of karma are so complex that even a tree living for 100 years or something like that, in terms of, it seems whoa, that's a terribly long time to be imprisoned in a tree. But in terms of the eternal reality, it's like snap. It's nothing. We're in the material world for a snap. How many lifetimes? Even all combined, it's just snap. You just jump in, you experience illusion, you desire to get out of illusion, and Krishna helps you, and then snap, you're out. That's what we're told. And looking back from, we're told that having reached that position, looking back, it all seems like just at the most like an overnight dream. Just a bad dream that I had. I was inside of this form that gave me the experience of pain, the experience of the worry of disease and old age and death. All these things came upon me at that time based on my illusion, but at the same time, like miraculously set up and arranged by Krishna to give me lessons. Like the lesson that I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in a different position. I'm supposed to be in a different place of life. And that's the message that our gurus give us in Krishna consciousness. This material world is a temporary place. You're not temporary. You're eternal. So you don't really belong here. And so naturally it's going to be awkward and difficult and, it's called Bhaya Loka, which means the place, the level of consciousness whereby there's always fear. The material world is full of fear. You walk outside, who knows what will happen. There's that underlying consciousness that at any time something may happen to me that I don't want, that I don't expect. So it's an underlying fear that's there with all of us in the material world, and it's just not natural. It's just we're not supposed to be like that. We're not supposed to live like that. And Krishna consciousness is so amazing that just beginning to experience a little bit and tasting a little bit, even after 55 years, I realized that I've got something, but it's really a little bit in relation to what Krishna consciousness really is. And it all depends on Krishna's will and the will of our gurus and our teachers. But it may be that it may take several births. It may take at least that long. But the thing is, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our great acharyas, prayed that let me just be born in the family of devotees. And then in that way, I'll be exposed to the eternal consciousness of spiritual life, and being in the material world won't be so bad. And actually, in pure spiritual consciousness, one of the amazing things is, it doesn't matter if you're in the material world. It doesn't matter if you're in a body that ultimately is going to die. You're still free. And we've seen that in our great spiritual teachers. They were, living in older bodies because somehow or other they were older, like Prabhupada when he came to America in 1965 was something like 70, something like that. He was older, and but because he had been given the specific mission of bringing Krishna consciousness to the West by his guru, he was filled with spiritual potency, filled with his own transcendental experience, and all he had to do was he just went to New York. He didn't know anybody, and finally he got set up in an apartment with just someone who he met on the street, and the person was a meat eater, and Prabhupada was living there he'd been a vegetarian from his birth, and so it was just a really kind of a hell, and the guy was taking drugs, and it was just a hellish situation. And eventually he would just go. He was in the Lower East Side of New York. I don't know if any of you guys know that area, but he'd go to Tompkins Square Park. I lived at 2nd Street and Avenue C, for when in like 68, 69. So I was there in the Lower East Side in the time of the hippie time, and Prabhupada was there, and I used to walk by the temple like almost, several times a week at least, and it just didn't hit me at all. I remember looking up, one day they were next to the Fillmore East, and they were like chanting and dancing and swaying back and forth on the upper floor. It was all windows around, and I looked at them and thought, that's really weird. Because I just wasn't ready for it, I guess. And then later, after some time in Detroit, it just seemed like Krishna had just sent me a way in which I could become, free again. So it was just a wonderful, amazing thing. What was I talking about? I was talking about what was happening in New York. Yeah.
I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your parents were not part of Vaishnavism,
right.
And something that I am curious how you dealt with this and how others have dealt with this. How do you explain your devotion or your interest to your family members or your loved ones who don't understand and have no interest in it?
Yeah. With me, it was a difficult time. With Srila, who I married after I'd come to Krishna for a couple of years, but it was easier for her because her parents were like, serious Catholics. They were like really serious about spiritual life, and so she grew up in that kind of atmosphere. So they kind of like appreciated Krishna consciousness a bit. But my poor father, he had he didn't go to church, he didn't believe in anything. His parents were they had come to America from Sweden, and they were already not very religious, and he was not raised in a religious atmosphere. So, when I was seeking after truth and understanding, I couldn't talk to him. He didn't know anything. It was really sad. I remember thinking about that and trying to think, and then I just realized he doesn't have anything. He doesn't know anything really. So it was a very sad thing. But anyway, finally I came to Krishna consciousness, joined the temple, and I just told him, well, I've stopped taking drugs, and he was like, okay, that's good. And then finally I joined the temple, shaved up my head, and was wearing robes, and the temple president came out to my house. We lived in the suburbs of Detroit. The temple was downtown Detroit. And anyway, we came out, and there I was with a robe and shaved head, and I came with a plate of our food, prasadam. And then I walked up and said, here's this food, have this food. And he was like, oh. And he just sat there and took it, and he was completely didn't know what the hell was going on. And my stepmother was like, "Arr," in the background, as she always was. And, he took prasadam. I sat down for a while, told him a little about Krishna consciousness, and said, if you want, I'll come back, and just contact me. And he never did. So that was quite sad. And then
you were disowned, weren't you, Maharaj?
Yeah, I was disowned, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For joining the temple?
Yeah.
Why?
His whole thing was he wanted me to be a doctor and be successful, and that would add to his prestige, right? Something like that. So, he was just a materialist. He didn't know anything about spiritual life. So I had deeply disappointed him.
Really?
But what am I supposed to do, The guy just didn't know about spiritual life. So I know that when I pray now and again, I'll think of him and pray to Krishna that he'll be taken care of. And I think that's the case. Prabhupada told us that when you come to Krishna consciousness, this generation, maybe the generation before you, will be given the chance to go on the path of Krishna consciousness. So, that's the best I could do. So it's a sad thing, but at the same time, that's what is life for? Life is for something that's real and higher and better. And, if someone, like Srila was able to kind of give that, especially to her mother, she was really positive about Krishna consciousness, and even started chanting a little herself and stuff. And so that's a wonderful thing. But if you can't, then you can just try it as best you can. And beyond that, what can you do, you know? It's just we have this there is an obligation that's there in the Vedic scriptures about the obligation of the children in relation to the parents. But the obligation that's mentioned in the scriptures it's a spiritual obligation. You know, it's not so much a material obligation where, you know, okay, you grow up, you have to take care of them and stuff like that, which may be part of it. But the real obligation is, you know, to help them in spiritual life, you know. So I like myself, I have no idea what Krishna is going to do with me, but you know, if my body does get old and my mind gets old or something, I have no doubt but that my son will take care of me. So I don't have any worry about that. Whatever my condition, you know, that care will be there, and it will be care that's based on you know, a spiritual connection. You know, there's also, you know, naturally the son and the father, there's some natural relationship there. But if the natural relationship doesn't involve, you know, spiritual life, then the natural relationship, you know, is doomed, right? Has to be, because one of us is going to die, and then what's the relationship after that? Unless you have a relationship that has to do with the soul, which is beyond the limitations of the body, then the relationship, you know, maybe some fond remembrance or something at best, right? But there's a deeper thing that's there in a spiritual connection, a spiritual relationship. Srila Prabhupada told us that we would have, you know, we have the, if Krishna wills, of course, but there's a possibility and the capacity to remain in contact with our friends, even if they've left this world, you know. They may be, you know, for devotees, we know that they're going to be, you know, born in a family of devotees, this planet or another planet. Who knows, you know, what they have, like, they know of like 1 billion planets or something like that. So we, you know, this is the material world. We have that understanding. Okay, so Krishna consciousness descends from the spiritual world to the material world. So I have no doubt, but there's, you know, Krishna consciousness there in so many of the planets everywhere, and depending on Krishna's will and my own necessity in spiritual life, I may be there, I may be here, I don't know. You know, I just kind of put in I put in, Krishna can do what he wants. I told people I put in a request to Krishna that I'd like to be born in this like society again. So I tell him, like, okay, keep your eyes open. After I leave, who's the first one born? And maybe me, maybe not. But, you know, I'm thinking like that. Yeah.
Maharaj, maybe you could talk about the offense to the holy name, sharing it with people who are hostile towards it. That was something that was helpful for me on this question.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like if you have I'm trying to think of an analogy. Anyway, if you have something that's really wonderful, that you know is like a wonderful gift that you want to give to someone, but they don't know what that is, and they don't have any appreciation for what that is, you know. So, what can you do? You know, you can try in different ways to, you know, help them, like a little bit develop and come more to the stage of understanding where the gift of Krishna's name will have some, they'll appreciate it to some extent. And sometimes, like in our teaching to people out in the street and stuff like that, our idea is, you know, chant God's names. The Hare Krishna mantra is perfect for that. It's designed for that in this age. So it's really easy to chant. It's really nice to chant. But if you want to chant Jehovah, chant that. If you want to chant Allah, chant that. That's okay, as far as we're concerned. You know, and you'll develop, depending on your own heart and your own degree of spiritual development, God, Krishna, will guide you in different ways to develop and grow more and more in your spiritual life, in your spiritual dedication, in your spiritual devotion. Krishna, what has been given to us that comes from India and from the line of our great teachers is, amazingly developed understanding of what spiritual life is, what devotion is. But I think what I was saying before, that that doesn't mean we don't see a similar thing there in other lines of teaching, because really religion and spiritual life, ultimately on a pure spiritual level, it's the same thing. It's basically devotion and understanding our position as eternal, like servants in relation to God, in relation to Krishna, and learning to like re-enter into that position after like having come into a position of like forgetfulness of our real true nature. That's what spiritual life is about, and that's what that's like the aim and the guide in our desires to progress and develop in our spiritual life. Kind of got off the track. What was it?
I was talking about how it's an offense to share the holy name.
Right. Yeah, so so we try to give the holy name as best we can to people, and if they're not, like I was saying, if they're not interested in Krishna's names, then Jehovah, Allah, otherwise. But if people are very negative, the direction is don't push it. There's no need to push it. People will develop naturally. If they come in contact with a devotee, that's a beginning step. If they only do it once in this life, they'll have a chance to do it a second time in the next life, and it can gradually develop in that way. But to push Krishna consciousness or the chanting of Hare Krishna on someone who's not interested, that will cause them to become more offensive. It's like an action that will bring them down, as opposed to the initial desire to bring them up through chanting the holy names. So we have to be kind of careful and cautious about Krishna's names and how we're presenting it and how we're trying to convey it to people, so that it's like what is very powerful in a positive sense, almost naturally, can be very powerful in a negative sense also. Krishna's name is powerful. So if you take it to your heart, you're going to grow in spiritual life. But if you offend it or attack it, then you're going to be messed up. So we have to be really careful and conscious of that. That we want to help people, but we can't push things onto people. All we can do is kind of open the door, show some basic things, and if they come forward, then a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, like that, and gradually help people to grow to the stage of accepting the name where they won't become offensive to Krishna's name. And the nice thing about our understanding of how the material world works is, even if a person is offensive in that way, they're gonna get some natural reaction, but that natural reaction is not going to go on forever. It's just based on if you commit a particular crime, you get put in prison for a year. If you've committed a worse crime, 5 years, worse crime, 10 years, something like that. So karma is also similar to that. But I always wondered about that in Christianity. If there's a loving God, how's He going to put us in hell forever? It just doesn't make sense. If He loves us, isn't He going to, if your mother loves you and, she punishes you because she loves you. She doesn't just punish you for the sake of punishing you forever. The element, and that's what's kind of lost, is the element is love, and a loving relationship with God that we have to grow in and develop. And I think when the access to that kind of relationship with God is not there, or very like almost hidden or difficult to find, then religion becomes something that is, rather than a positive internal thing, it becomes like a structured, external, like material trip thing. You know what I mean? It can become like that, unfortunately, because like religion and the inner feeling of people is really the most important thing in life, and to like distort that and exploit that particular tendency is it's a real possibility in terms of being able to go in that direction, unfortunately, because people are open, and basically it's a good thing to be innocent, and unfortunately innocent people can become exploited. That's why we have to be a little always careful in the material world, because there's exploiters around who are not going to do the best thing for us. But again, luckily Krishna is God, so He will take care of us if we ask Him to, and if we remember to take shelter of Him, then we'll be okay. We don't have to worry so much about stuff like that, because He's our best friend, and He's going to be with us. And even if we make mistakes, even if we don't follow things perfectly, like I was saying before, it doesn't matter. Krishna doesn't care. I mean, we can't like one of the offenses is to commit sin on the strength of chanting. And that means, okay, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, so I can do anything I want, because the Hare Krishna mantra will, free me from that. So, I can kill, rob, rape, do whatever. You can't do that. You have to, chant Hare Krishna, get the inner experience of Krishna consciousness, and gradually pull away from the exploitative life that we're all kind of stuck in the material world. It's just, it's like that. We have to, the main thing is we have to get the experience, and once we have that experience, it's like naturally, it's like a wonderful thing. So you want to give this wonderful thing to others, to people, to help them in this world. It's just like, that's like part of our inner nature. We know it. We all want to help others. We all just, what is that? It means that, there's some spiritual nature that each one of us has that Krishna has arranged. And part of that nature is that we naturally want to help each other. So if we want to help each other, then helping each other means not just like fixing things up on a material level, but actually, helping people become, grow and free through spiritual life. That's like a real chance and a real possibility that Krishna has given us. So, anything else?
How do you recommend to talk about it with your loved ones? Like, I'm about to see my grandma and my father tomorrow, and I've told them that I've been coming here, but I feel, unsure of how to say it in a brief, succinct way that doesn't make them immediately think like you're joining a cult or something.
No. What I would do, what I have done actually is like hear from them about their spiritual experiences. Ask them about that. What is their spiritual experience? What do they feel? And then say, oh yeah, I'm feeling that also. And then tell them how you're applying it. Based on their own experiences, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Do they have like any spiritual sense or like that?
I was raised Jewish, so my parents are both Jewish, but my grandma's like very anti-Semitic, even though she's a Jew, and she's also very anti-religion. And my older brother lived in a Buddhist monastery for 2 years, and my grandma thought it was the stupidest thing that he could have done. My parents are fairly open-minded towards Buddhism and other religions, but they're Reformed Jewish.
Okay. Well, that's a tough one because, if they have a block to any kind of spiritual life bringing benefit for you, I think all you can do really is just practically show to them how this has helped you. Not even directly saying that, oh, this temple has helped me, but just say, oh, I'm becoming so much more happy inside, and I'm becoming so much more less dependent on my surroundings and stuff like that. Just kind of in a indirect way, talk about the benefit that's coming to you, and not necessarily having to, because if they're not going to respond to, oh, that's kind of cool, it's a cool temple. But if they won't, then just talk about, how you're feeling about things. Don't even mention the temple. You don't have to, really. Just that you're growing in this way. And they'll probably be happy, right? Yeah. So, what can you have to, it's like Krishna, because Krishna knows and Krishna is God, in that particular circumstance, entering into that circumstance in a mood of, let me just do what Krishna wants me to do in this situation and help them in a way indirectly that I can. And Krishna will just show you what to do. You'll find, depend on Krishna and you'll see how Krishna helps you. It's just like things will come in a natural way that you may never have thought of before. And where does that come from? It's just it's an accidental combination of, the brain waves in your background and stuff like that. Sometimes both are there, but in every situation, actually, I can say, depending, Krishna will always help us, and the help will sometimes manifest in ways that appear to be just part of our ordinary, material growth and stuff like that. But with Krishna consciousness, it's not always like that. Krishna helps you in different ways that you don't expect and you don't necessarily understand how it's happening or why it's happening, So does that seem right to just speak to them in terms of your own inner experiences and stuff and not mention where it's coming from and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think, in terms of my parents, they're very open-minded. So I feel comfortable telling them about the temple and the beliefs.
You can tell them also that in the beginning, the core of the devotees who first surrounded Srila Prabhupada, they were 90% Jewish.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They will like that.
Yeah, I remember when I joined with my friend, the leaders were mostly from Jewish families.
Oh, really?
When I joined in 1969, yeah. They're mostly from Jewish families. My friends in devotional life, at least half of them were from Jewish background, I grew up in the suburb of Detroit, which was the high school. There was an area in Detroit called Oak Park where, it was all Jewish, practically. For some reason or other, even at that time, they had to live together, right? For some reason. I don't know, in an upper middle class place like I lived, there might have been, some hassle for them to go there, which didn't even occur to me at that time, but I realized later, probably so. I remember when I was little, I lived in Dearborn, which used to be a big place where the bigots from the south would move to in the north, and now Dearborn is like a Muslim place. But anyway, they built this new house next door to us, and this Catholic family moved in. It was I heard my father say, I don't want the goddamn Pope around here. That was whoa. Where are these people at? It was just, I don't know how I got out of it, but Krishna was kind to me. Yeah, so, it's like that. The material world, the real standard is the degree to which people engage their lives in devotion to Krishna, to God. Whether, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Adonai, It doesn't matter. It's just the degree to which people dedicate themselves, and that's the standard we try to look to. And we like to give Krishna consciousness to people because it's a very practical, almost easy way to go in that direction. You just take Krishna's name, and it begins to work internally. And coming in contact with Krishna, your circumstance externally becomes more guided. It's like that. It works like that. So, yeah. If they have some background in, even a basic human background, they're going to appreciate if their granddaughter's happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm happy. Oh, wonderful, dear.
Yeah.
I feel like my life is some real meaning. And they're probably not going to, because of their nature, they're probably not going to ask, well, what is that? What is that about? They probably won't, right?
I think she would, yeah.
You think she would?
Yeah.
Oh. We just have a lot of friends who are really, open and friendly, and it's just being around those kinds of people is just really, really good for me and really helpful for me. There's people who are more interested in being with others and helping others than just being selfish about themselves. I want to find friends like that, something like that, right?
One thing that, sorry, maybe I'm asking too many questions, but last thing I wanted to ask, and this is something my mom asked me the other day, which I just am curious how Vaishnavism would respond to this. If Krishna loves all of us, why, for example, it's a very simple question, right. But why do...
I know what it is, yeah. Okay, it's like if your mother loves you and you're going to put your hand in the fire, why does she hit you? She's your mother. She shouldn't hit you. I'm not looking at it on that level. So, the material world, there's so many, so much pain and problems that come as a result of the material world. And to, tell me the question again. I'm getting distracted.
Okay. I didn't even say it.
No.
The question was why do bad things happen to good people? Why?
Okay.
I don't know. My mom is very interested in my spiritual exploration, and she was like, why would her sister, my aunt, who's a brain surgeon who saves many lives, why did she get breast cancer and almost die?
Yes.
What? And I have my own answers, but I'm curious what Vaishnavism would say.
Right. Okay. Well, we have that. I think a lot of that can be answered by remembering and understanding that people are, this life is not the only life, right? You may be a really good person in this life somehow or other by your proper choices, but it may be that in a previous life you really hurt people. And, the material world is arranged in such a way so that, what is it? However you sow, so you reap. Yeah, like that. So if you sow pain to another person, you reap that back. So we can look at things and see, not in a hard, cold way, but in a way of understanding that, when someone comes into a situation where they're suffering, in this life, and you can't understand why a person like that would be suffering, we have to think Krishna is God. God is God. Things happen under His will, and it may appear to us to be not equitable, but at the same time, we have to understand that there are previous lives that come into play that have to do with why, why do I have this kind of body? Why do I have this kind of mind? Why do you have that body? Why do you have that mind? Where does it come from? Just poof, nothing? No, it comes from previous activities. So everything that is happening is resulting based on our action in this life, but also previous activities, our karma from the past.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say.
Yeah, sure.
This is a story that Srila told me about Mahaprabhu. You know Srila. We all know Srila. Justin, maybe someday you'll know Srila. Mahaprabhu and Nityananda are walking from house to house, and they approach like a big mansion of a wealthy man. And Mahaprabhu knocks on the door and asks the man for a glass of water. I'm thirsty. Can I get a glass of water? And the man says, "Oh, here's the thing. I give you a glass of water. I'm going to have all sorts of people knocking on my door looking for a glass of water. I'm sorry, I've got a policy on this sort of thing. I can't give you a glass of water." And Mahaprabhu says, "Okay, I understand. I wish you great wealth. Have a good day." And then they march over and they find a very poor man in a little shack. And they walk up, they say, "Hey, I'm thirsty. Could I have a glass of water?" And the man says, "Oh, a glass of water? I could do you one better. I'll give you a glass of milk. I got a cow in the back." "Let me give you a glass of milk." Mahaprabhu takes a glass of milk and says, "May your cow die." And they walk away, and Nityananda looks at Mahaprabhu and says, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, you wish this man affronts you, and you wish him wealth. This man is kind to you. You wish his cow to die." And Mahaprabhu says, "Oh yes. Well, you see, that man, I didn't really like him. That wealthy guy, it's going to be a while before I see him again, And so he's got some things to learn. Give him wealth. Stays in this world for a long time. He's got some lessons to learn. That kind man, I was very fond of that kind poor man. And that cow, that's his last attachment to this material world. Once that cow goes, then he returns to me." And so, talking about karma, talking about these past experiences and stuff, I'm just thinking, like Maharaj was saying, we're not really meant to be here. And so, you do really wonderful things for people in this world. You're in the mode of goodness. I'm sure your aunt is very wealthy, brain surgeon, you can think of these things as just reminders that this is a world of death. This is a world of, everything you eat, you're consuming something that was living, you're not meant to be here. And those little pangs of discomfort can just be taken as reminders of that fact.
You want to pass it back?
I heard a fun story yesterday and today, because I rewatched it, about some people, entities, had not incarnated on Earth and did something funny. I don't know the specific details to Krishna, and Krishna said, "You're going to incarnate on Earth because you did that." And they said, no, we don't want to incarnate on Earth. No, please. And Krishna, he was stern about that position. And so whoever was trying to avoid incarnating went to Krishna's daughter and asked, what can I do? I don't want to incarnate. She said, "Well, I can't do anything about that, but I can, once you incarnate, I can kill you as soon as possible." And so there's a story of, I think, the daughter of Krishna killing 7 of her children as soon as they were born, drowning them. And that is one of the more interesting...
As a mother, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's an explanation of suffering and karma. But what were you asking about?
Exactly what you answered, which is why bad things happen to good people.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was one of my favorite descriptors of fire is that it is a forge, and that when you willingly walk into the fire, into a situation that you know is probably going to be harmful to you, that whatever burns away was not meant for you, and whatever stays is the impermanence of your spirit.
Yeah, the idea of fire is very much present in our scriptures and from our gurus. That like the fire of Krishna consciousness means that sometimes we're in a situation where we're really attached to something. We've lived like that for so long, but by the fire of Krishna consciousness, these things are like burned away. And sometimes that burning hurts, but the burning is a good thing because it's burning away our like karmic attachments and stuff like that. So it's not like you start chanting Hare Krishna and suddenly you're like in La La Land or something. It's like you chant Hare Krishna and Krishna starts to help you, and sometimes that help has to do with burning away attachments to the material world. So, people who come to Krishna consciousness thinking it's going to be, everything's going to be all like, external joy and happiness and stuff like that. That will be there, and then they underlie your consciousness when things hit you. But, at the same time, we're going to be like even increasingly hit with, the pain of burning away our attachments to the material world and our previous circumstance, which we took as real. The only way we're going to withdraw from that conception of reality is like to burn it away and develop a new conception of reality, which is what Krishna consciousness is. So we add Krishna consciousness, and based on that addition of Krishna consciousness, the old things dissipate. Sometimes they'll dissipate easily, and sometimes it'll be a painful process. It just depends on the individual necessity, which Krishna knows.
I think of just being on earth as its own type of crucible, and that the whole point of coming here is to come out with a more tender heart and a stronger back. That there's something about growth itself that there's... I've thought about what it means to grow in consciousness, not necessarily as a material person. And I think that everything about being here tests and is almost an expanding force of consciousness itself. What it means to be present. That's my response to you.
Yeah, I remember Prabhupada used to say to us that the growing process, just like even physical growing process, sometimes naturally involves pain. It hurts to grow sometimes. So, spiritual growth is not different from that. That as we grow in spiritual life, like I was saying, the pain of having to leave behind our external attachments and our perception of normal life is going to be, it's going to inevitably be painful. But underlying that pain is the inner knowledge and experience, understanding that there's a purpose behind this pain. Krishna's putting me through this for some reason. Sometimes you wind up in a situation, it's just like your mind's blown, you're really you don't know what to do. It's very painful. And the best thing that I've learned is just to step back and think, oh, Krishna wants something. Let me just be open to what Krishna wants. I'll go on with my life in spite of all this, things that are happening, and Krishna will show me. Just to deal with things like that is so, again, it's like the perception of what is significant. Is our external circumstance significant, or is the inner spiritual circumstance significant? I mean, both are significant, but most significant is the inner circumstance, and less significant is the external circumstance. And as we grow in Krishna consciousness, to understand and feel how to proportion those things, will just develop naturally and easily because. Like I was saying, Krishna knows each one of us, and He'll help us along the way. And, just to work on remembering that, Krishna's my friend, He's going to help me. Krishna's my friend, He's going to help me. And it'll more and more become rather than just an imposition that you're hammering into your brain, it'll come out as, as the... the natural position of your real self. We just have to work on remembering who we are, and as we work on that, Krishna shows us deeper and deeper things, and it becomes obvious that this human life is meant for spiritual progress. What else? You work your whole life, become super successful, become super rich, and then you die. So, basic spiritual understanding is why should I work my whole life when I have to leave everything behind? Isn't there something else? And when we start to search for that something else, Krishna helps us, and Krishna shows us what reality really is. And, it's not like an overnight thing. It's not easy. Anything in this world that's valuable is going to take some sacrifice, right? So what to speak of the most valuable thing? Of course, it's going to take the most sacrifice. It's just natural, yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on that. I've had a lot of experience dissociating from myself and my body. And I developed certain practices and hobbies that let me actually get a sense and a feel for what it actually felt like to fill my being, and I can see I can measure the difference of what it feels like to just exist and have a tangible experience of that versus what felt like a lack of. I described it as a lot of nothingness. Whatever nothingness feels like, I don't know. My whole spiritual exploration and journey has led me to just deepening that experience, that feeling that I'm being filled, that I can be more present, that I can presence myself with more things that are around me, and have some kind of conscious awareness of it. And to respond to you, that's really been how I experience this, and what it means to go through many trials and challenging experiences is what the question that comes up is, what does it mean to stay with this and not run away? That my feeling of what I'm experiencing is worth my respect and almost more real than whatever I may be able to describe materially. That's all I want to say.
Nice. I mean, when we start to like feel and have some, experience of ourselves as spirit, like, not limited by this body or even this mind, then based on that experience and understanding, then we look towards, what is the position of spirit? What does spirit do? Is there a spiritual life that is like accessible, like beyond this material life that I'm experiencing right now? And that's what our gurus give us. They give us an experience of like a real life, a real spiritual life that has directed purpose, aiming at like awakening our own inner spiritual relationship with Krishna, our own inner spiritual relationship with God as His like eternal servant, as His as living a life based not on my own impulses and my own conclusions about things, but rather based on the idea of trying to align ourselves with Krishna's will, to try to live a life based on that understanding that I'm the soul, and the nature of that soul, the position of that soul is Krishna's service. That's what the domination of the whole existence of all the universe has to do with service and ultimately serving Krishna. There's no avoiding service. Everybody, whoever they are, they serve. Like that. Was it George Harrison? You got to serve somebody. What was it? You guys never heard that one? You got to serve. It was Dylan. Yeah, it was Dylan. Yeah, you got to serve someone. That was when I was in Chicago in the temple. One day these devotees call me up and they say, "Oh, hi, we were hitchhiking and Bob Dylan picked us up and he wants to come to the temple." And I was like, okay. And so they, a couple hours later, they drive up to the temple, and there's like, Bob Dylan who's just got this regular car, and he's just like a regular guy. And he comes in, and I said, well, why don't you talk to our sannyasi, who was, I forget the guy's name. Anyway, he had a black body. He was a really nice guy, really nice sannyasi. So, Dylan talked to him for a while. And, a couple hours, actually. And then he came out, and I said, well, you want some of our... I think they brought prasadam to him when he was in there talking with... what's the guy's name? Can't remember. Anyway, so he came out afterwards, and I showed him the deities, and the deities freaked him out. We had this gymnasium that was converted into a temple, big archways, and there was Radha and Krishna there as the deities. It was really beautiful, but he saw the idols, and it absolutely freaked him out. He was like, I gotta go, and just like ran out to his car. And anyway, but I think that hearing about Krishna consciousness affected him to some extent, and later he came out with those different kinds of songs and stuff, and he got pulled into a kind of more devotional Christianity, I guess, after that. But where was I going with that?
That's something that I also, to be honest with you, I experienced that in Thailand when I went to the temple and I saw like the idol of Krishna, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I feel about this. And yeah, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more on like the intention behind that.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that the deity is a, not only, but primarily for us at least, a representation of spiritual God and spiritual individuality. So to come in contact with God as a person is a whole powerful experience in and of itself. And if Krishna is God, if there is a God, and if Krishna is God, and he wants to manifest himself, he can do it any way that he wants to. I mean, we have to if we understand that there is a God, and God has the capacity, the all-pervading consciousness, we can understand that he has the capacity to manifest himself however he wants to. And I think the blockage initially is from our Judeo-Christian background, where you can't it's almost like, well, God doesn't manifest himself in this world, but it doesn't mean that he can't do it if he wants to. And that's Krishna consciousness, and the teaching that come from India and from the Vedas have to do a lot with the potency of God and the way in which God descends into this world. He descends into this world as empowering living beings. It's called Shakti-Avesh Avatar. And Prabhupada told us that, Lord Jesus was Shakti-Avesh Avatar. He was given power by God to present Krishna consciousness. And that was a transcendental descent. Like even now when I'm speaking, things are descending, like I was talking about, based on Krishna's knowledge of who you are, who I am, and what is the spiritual necessity for all of us. Things happen and manifest in that way. Things develop and grow in that way, in a natural way, based on Krishna's will and Krishna's perception of who we are. I'm getting tired, but did I get distracted? Did I answer your question or no?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I think about awareness and responsibility never being able to be separated. When I think about something higher that is turning their gaze upon me, that they are seeing me in things that I may not even recognize. And that one thing I learned recently is that true masters never take their eyes off of God. And I think that is fascinating to think about, that this conversation about ego, mind, and identity is like my usual thoughts or fascinations with that and the materialism of that, instead of that observation or the observer of it all. What I think of and when I look to myself and describing what that is, that if I turn my gaze towards something higher than me, that I will almost, like a river, see what they see and have a deeper awareness of myself and receiving that wisdom. And that is my experience of what you were describing.
Yeah, I think, I'll just say real quick, I think that experience would be like even more enhanced by like developing your like relationship with that source as, you know, as a servant, and that beginning to feel and think like my position is to live life based on that desire that's coming to me from above, and try to understand and develop in that way.
I think of what Srila Maharaj said about the deities, where he says, you know, there are people who say God is everywhere, there's no need for a temple. And Srila Maharaj says, well, if God is everywhere, then why isn't he in the temple? And another thing he says kind of echoes what you were saying, Andrew, where he says, you know, there are those who look at the deities and say, you know, I don't see God there. And the point of the deity isn't really, so says Srila Maharaj over there, it's not really for you to see God, it's for God to see you, for God to gaze upon you. I remember the first time I came to the temple, it was sold to me as like, oh, we're doing meditation. And I walked in and I saw the deity, and you know, like you, I was like, whoa, what am I getting myself into? This is idol worship, you know. And then I saw kirtan, and then I saw arati, and you've been here for arati on Sunday. Like, people are jumping up and down, slapping the ceiling and stuff, and it's like, you know, not any meditation that I was privy to before that. And I remember getting like so overwhelmed, and then it hit me, you know, seeing the deity at the front of the room and thinking, you know, I just realized, like, wow, everybody in this room wants Krishna to see them having this good of a time.
Yeah, you're dancing for the deity.
Yeah.
It's like you're the dancer who's the servant of the deity.
Yeah, and it's like I could just see like the love in that sacrifice of arati. Like, it's not like you're dancing like a puppet or something. Like, you really want to show like the loving relationship that you're striving for, and you're like I just saw so much sincerity like in that relationship that it really, that's like what kept me coming back in those initial stages was seeing arati and seeing what it did to people. It was like really cool.
Fantastic. Okay, anything else? Yeah. What'd she say? Okay.
So I still don't have too much comprehension with different deities and what they mean, but my general comprehension is that different deities mean different things, or they relate to different feelings, evoking or experiences, and that this concept of a deity gazing upon me is like having that experience. And I think about my choir background and what it means to say Krishna. And how that evokes a feeling, or that it's like almost like the body of Christ. Like, I put bread in my mouth, I put the name of something higher in my mouth, and that digests or enters me. And I can imagine that for each divine presence, that it would be important to expand my knowledge in the differences, even if that's just reciting. But that's what I want to say.
Yeah, just real quick. Our deity, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself who descended to bring the holy name, the chanting of Hare Krishna. And he was in India like 500 years ago. So this particular deity is a representation of Mahaprabhu, and simultaneously there is a presence of Mahaprabhu that is there, that is like accessible for each one of us, depending on our own spiritual openness and spiritual necessity. As we like bow down to Mahaprabhu and ask for his help in different ways, that help will like manifest in a practical way. So the deity is there before us, visible, and apparently like standing in a certain position always. But my first Guru Prabhupada used to say that you just can't see what the deity is actually doing. that the deities are dancing and so many things like that, but you can't see it. It's because your vision is limited to external structural type stuff. So there's much more going on a spiritual level, on the level of what avatar. Avatar means like one who like descends to this world. So the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the deity himself, is like an avatar of Mahaprabhu who's manifest before us to convey to us his mercy and to like reciprocate with us. So we can like individually bow down, pray, talk to the deity, tell the deity about our lives, what our what we're feeling, what we hope for in our spiritual life. We can like develop this kind of relationship with the deity, like sitting there, praying. Sometimes, spending like before the deity, chanting, just praying and reciprocating with the deity, half hour, like that. It can, the more we like move into the realm of like understanding and realizing that the deity is real, there's a real spiritual manifestation there, more and more the reciprocation will come from the deity to us. And we'll just like, the whole thing is reciprocal. We love God, we try to love God, He wants our love, and He gives His love to us based on our own like necessity. And really, as far as qualifications, we don't really have any qualification whereby we're gonna like give us automatic access to Krishna, to God. But He's so merciful, so loving, so kind that He'll help us even though we don't have what would be the like requisite qualifications. Krishna's so merciful to us. So okay, I guess we'll just chant Hari Haraya and then take Prashadam.
Page 66.
What is it? 66?
66. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Madhusudan. Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath. Jai Gosai Gori Charana Vandan. Bajavite Vinara Shabisha Puran. Jai Gosai Jar Muni Karadas. Tamsavara Padarinu Maura Manchagras. Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas. Janame Janame Mola He Adivas. Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Kolabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Kodila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Raja Vrindavan. Sri Guru-Vaishnava Pade Majaiyaman. Guru-Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyar. Hare Ram Sankirtan Kohe Narottama Das. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nitya Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaura Hari Bo. Nitya Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaura Hari Bo. Sripad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Varya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Varya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Varya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Varya Astatarasata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hari Nama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Ho. Is that you, Dave?
Krishna Prabhu is sending you his Vandana.